In the year 1066, England doesn't just change kings, it changes direction. A single crown becomes the prize in a brutal contest. Politics, oaths, invasion fleets, and one decisive day on a hill that rewires English history. It starts with a problem that medieval kingdoms hate most: a dead king and no clear heir. Edward the Confessor dies in early January 1066, and England's succession suddenly becomes a high-stakes argument, one that can't be settled with paperwork. Three men loom largest: Harold Godwinson, the most powerful earl in England, chosen to wear the crown; William, Duke of Normandy, across the Channel, claiming a promise was made; and Harald Hardrada, a battle-hardened Viking king who believes the throne is his by right and tradition. England is about to be tested from every direction. Years earlier, Harold had visited Normandy, and later stories insist he swore an oath to support William's claim. Whether that oath was freely given or politically trapped, it becomes a propaganda weapon. William can frame his invasion as not just ambition, but justice. Harold can frame William as a foreign opportunist, and England sits in the middle of their competing stories. Then the sky itself seems to weigh in. In 1066, Halley's Comet appears, bright, unmistakable, and terrifying to medieval eyes. People don't see a comet as a science lesson, they see a warning, a sign that a crown is about to fall or a world is about to shift. Harold moves fast. He gathers the Fyrd, local levies called up for war, alongside his housecarls, the professional corps of his army. He stations them on the south coast, watching the sea, waiting for William's ships. The tension stretches for weeks. Supplies run low. Men need to go home for harvest. Time becomes an enemy. And then the invasion doesn't come from the south at all. It comes from the north. Harald Hardrada arrives with a fleet, backed by Harold's exiled brother Tostig. The nightmare scenario lands in Yorkshire. England is attacked, and the king is in the wrong place. Harold responds with speed that borders on desperation. He marches north and meets the invaders near York. On 25 September 1066, at Stamford Bridge, Harold wins a crushing victory. Hardrada is killed. The Viking threat collapses in a single savage day. But victories can still weaken you. Harold's army takes losses, men are wounded, equipment is battered, and almost immediately Harold hears the next piece of news, the piece that turns triumph into panic. William has landed. After months of preparation, ships, horses, archers, cavalry, hardened infantry, William finally gets the weather window he needs. On 28 September 1066, he lands at Pevensey on the Sussex coast and begins building a secure base. He raids for food, gathers intelligence, and forces the countryside to feel his presence. He is not a raider looking for loot, he is an invader looking for a kingdom. Harold has no choice but to turn around. He marches south again, another brutal trek. The question is whether he should wait, gather more troops, and choose his moment, or strike quickly before William can fully entrench. Harold chooses speed. By mid-October, Harold reaches the area near Hastings and takes high ground at Senlac Hill. His men form a shield wall, overlapping shields, packed ranks, disciplined and stubborn. It's a defensive posture designed to absorb shock. The English aren't planning to dance around, they're planning to hold. On 14 October 1066, William attacks. The Normans fight as a combined force, archers to soften, infantry to press, cavalry to exploit. But uphill assaults are punishing, and the English shield wall holds firm. Hours pass in a grinding contest of strength, nerve, and stamina. And then something changes. At points in the battle, parts of the Norman line pull back, whether as a deliberate feigned retreat or a retreat that becomes a tactic in the moment. Some English fighters surge forward to chase. That's the danger. A shield wall is powerful when it stays together. When sections break formation, gaps open, and gaps are where cavalry becomes deadly. William's mounted troops strike into those spaces, cutting down the men who had rushed ahead and hammering the weakened parts of the line. The battle becomes less like a wall and more like a series of ruptures. Late in the day, Harold is killed. The famous image of an arrow in the eye is iconic, but the exact details are uncertain. What is certain is what Harold's death does to the English army. Command collapses, morale fractures. The line that had held for hours finally breaks. William wins the battlefield, and with it, he wins the possibility of conquest. But a battle is not a kingdom. Even after Hastings, England doesn't instantly submit. William advances carefully. He secures territory, intimidates towns, and forces key leaders to choose between resistance and survival. His strategy is as psychological as it is military. On Christmas Day, 1066, William is crowned in Westminster. It's meant to look like order, like legitimacy, like God has approved the transfer of power. But outside the ceremony, the conquest is still being built, day by day, castle by castle. Because that's how the Normans locked down England. Castles. Quick to raise, hard to ignore, positioned to dominate roads, rivers, towns, and populations. Castles are not just defensive structures, they are control towers. They say in earth and timber and later stone, this place answers to William now. Resistance flares, especially in the north, and William responds with terrifying force. The campaign, remembered as the harrying of the North, devastates communities and leaves deep scars in the historical record. It's conquest by punishment, an example meant to end the argument. And then comes the quieter conquest, the replacement of an elite. Lands and titles shift to Norman followers. Power flows through new networks. The language of court and law becomes French, while English continues among ordinary people, changing slowly under pressure, mixing and transforming. By the 1080s, William orders an extraordinary survey of his kingdom, Domesday Book. It records who owns what it's worth, and what is owed. It's not just bureaucracy, it's domination in ink. A conquered kingdom measured, listed, and made legible to its ruler. So the Norman conquest isn't only the story of a battle, it's a reset of England's leadership, land, architecture, government, and identity. It leaves castles on hills, new lords in manors, new words in the language, and a new shape to power that echoes for centuries. 1066 is the year England is conquered, and then rebuilt into something different.